Hey, good morning. All right. We're just getting things started off here. It is bright and early here. Yeah, let's see if I can find my friend Ava Diamond. There she is. So, here we go.
I'm scared right now.
That's how it works.
I'm scared right now because literally I went to the gym this morning, everybody, and I got a number. The work that I do, I'm available 24/7 to my clients, and so that's why I charge what I charge. And so when they call me, I have to be available. So as I'm driving home from the gym, I get the urgent call. What do we do about blah?
Right.
And now here I am, zero makeup.
I'm not wearing any makeup either, so it's all good. Now, we're a little frozen here, my friend. Let's see. Let's see what's going on here. There we go. Am I frozen or just you're frozen? Okay, it's just a temporary. I see ya. Jeff, no makeup either, buddy? Okay, let's bring Ava back in here.
Am I back?
Yeah, you're back. You're back.
Okay. You know what? I don't know if you can see in the background. Can you see out my window?
You see the snow?
It's not snow. It's ocean.
Oh, it's the ocean. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. So cell service. When we did this last week, I was in Manhattan.
Right.
Great cell service. Now I'm on the shoreline, and there's problems sometimes. So apologies. We're gonna do everything we can.
All right. Well, listen. Why don't we get into it? We had talked last time. We broached the topic of nutritional psychology, and and kind of walking through that process a little bit. And I was going through the workbook that you had written, and there was actually 10 points here about it comes with a heading up. Here are the 10 things that joining the revolution of healing can do for you, or following this thought process, following these steps, right? Because it's everybody says, I don't mind tuning in, but what's in it for me, right?
Right, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. So why don't we just go through? I thought it'd be easier just to use that as a kind of a guideline this morning and just go through these points, because it's there's so many things out there, and you and I have talked a lot about our thought process is kind of interdisciplinary conversation around why we don't just work on fitness, why we don't just promote the idea of movement as opposed to psychology, why we intermix all these things together, because we see the relevancy and the validity of actually really getting into the absolute mind body kind of spirit conversation. And I see a lot of it out there, but a lot of it just doesn't kind of make sense. I really for me, I want to be able to get my teeth in and understand the foundational premise of how things work, because then I can actually buy into it, right? It's just so there's yeah. I think
you crave more complexity and understanding than most people, right? We all need to know that about David, that he operates, you operate from a place of wanting to truly understand at a deep level why things need to be done differently.
Right.
And I appreciate that very much. And then there's, people who may not need all of that, but who absolutely haven't even considered what you and I are about to talk about.
Right.
Well,
it's you talked about the number one thing that you had listed here. It says talk about redefining and personalizing terms of clarity, conviction, and success. What do you mean by redefine and personalize those terms?
Okay, so very often, and I'm going to try to make this as succinct as possible just to get to the point.
Right.
Very often, people have the 5-year plan, the 10-year plan, and all those are lovely to have. I personally never have more than a 1-year plan. But the reason I don't is because the clarity that we're talking about is being so super clear on what I call your core power elements, what you work with, and it's funny because behind your head is your big I am circle, but because of the way I'm seeing it, it says my I, which can be psychoanalyzed, by the way. That said, your I am project and my, core power for life lifting, are very, very compatible.
Right.
In understanding. So what I do is I help people to hone in on what basically become the pillars for their building the rest of their life upon, by understanding so clearly what their values, intentions, beliefs, their skills, and the information that they currently have, their personality traits that will make them successful, have made them successful to this point, maybe not where they want to be, but they are the elements of their core that they can stand on firmly and build the rest.
Right.
So that's the kind of clarity that I'm talking about. It's not about, often I find that people who have those visions of when visualization has been so big, for a while. The Secret has talked about, how important it is. And I'm not dismissing that. I do some of that work myself personally. But what I find is that people can become so tunnel vision. They think they're being so super clear that they actually miss seeing the opportunities in front of them, because sometimes it's important to make a left turn or a right turn to get to the direction that's ultimately authentic and powerful for you.
Right. Well, and I think that goes along with the personalized aspect of it. We, there's so many strategies out there, but there's somebody else's strategies I'm buying into, not mine. And so
that's right.
The guy next door, his strategy for making $1 million this year is not going to work for me. It's just some of the framework and the concepts are possible, but unless I wire them in for my particular lifestyle and mindset, these won't land properly. Yeah.
Right.
So the second one here is talk about evaluating internal resources. So again, this is actually leads into what or touches on what you're just talking about. Evaluating your internal resources that you can utilize. So speak to more about that. Is that about trusting your own judgment?
In part, it's trusting your gut. Most people don't trust their gut, and then they go to external resources to determine what their next move should be, whether it's been romance or career or nutrition or all these things. So tuning into your body and listening to your body is certainly part of that. But again, it goes back to what you talk about with your I Am project and what I talk about with authentic, the energy you get from being truly authentic when your actions align with your intentions. Your internal resources, again, go back to those core elements. What are you made of? I am. What am I today, right now, that I can stand upon and make my choices? It's amazing what happens when people dismiss, and I'm speaking to you and to the audience who knows you. I'm sure many people do who are watching and who understand your focus of your work, that so many of us hold on to these historic notions of who we are that we don't give space for recognizing really what we're made of right now. That we've learned from those historic, we need to let history inform us, but not define us. And so defining yourself today doesn't mean you're not responsible for crappy things you may have done in the past. Let's not go that far. But it does mean that you can not get drained by the past.
Yeah, and I love that, being informed but not being controlled by your history. And and I think that's important. Like I don't stay up at night because Napoleon didn't do so well in his last conflict. It's if I'm oh my God, Napoleon, what have you done? You've ruined my whole life. Yeah, it's interesting.
Thanks, Jeff. Jeff Wagner also liked that comment.
Yeah.
History inform us, but not define us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's easy. Well, the problem with history is that when you remember it, you actually get the emotional context of it as well, and you feel like you're in it. You're currently you're reading in the middle of your history because you're feeling it just the way it felt, right? So I think that's why it's so easy to allow it to take over, but you don't always get the the knowledge of your history. Sometimes you just get the emotional context of it, and that's the reference point. But because it's happening now. You think, or because you're feeling it now, you think it's happening again, and it's not.
Right.
It's just an echo, right?
Right. Now this goes to, this speaks about the work that I do with people all over the world. Actually, my clients are all over the place. But it particularly is, the revolution of healing, my business with Cavi, that's a large chunk of what revolution of healing is about too, where it's healing from your past by really harnessing your power today.
Right.
And that includes nutrition, fitness, and mindset.
Right.
Right.
So the third one here is talking about determining what or who you need as external resources. So, and you said, talking about creating what you call your go-tos for information, support, and assistance. And now, and it's actually, it's an interesting one. And I find, for myself, I find that sometimes challenging because I really lean heavily on my own opinion.
Well, guess what? I'm going to say something that's not politically correct.
That's all right.
But, it's partially because you have a penis. Right? Yeah. Women have been much more adept at, creating go-to teams.
Right.
I love, most of my clients are males,
right.
And I love that has changed somewhat over the years, where men have, it's that old, it's the old comic strip of, a man will drive around for hours before he asks for directions, right? Right. So ego is hopefully less in the way these days, because most of my clients are men, so I'm assuming that their ego is, at the door.
Right.
But yeah, creating your go-to team is something that people tend to be a little bit reckless with. So, you can absolutely, I know when I love my own opinion, I absolutely go to people who are going to have the same opinion.
Right.
So why would I go to anybody who's going to tell me something I don't want to hear?
Exactly.
Right. And so therein lies my effectiveness, is that I'm the chick that tells people what they don't want to hear, and I get paid to do it. But, finding your resources means that you're willing to take that vulnerable risk of putting your truest ideas out there, right, and accepting a perspective that may not be yours.
Right. Now I remember a piece from Brene Brown, who I absolutely love, and she had talked about, but she also said, if you're creating these resources, actually be very careful, because not everybody deserves to hear your story.
That's true.
And
that's funny that you say that, because I run some groups with this stuff too. And one of the things, a lot of people journal.
Right.
And I feel like journaling is great. Please don't think that I'm suggesting that if you love to journal and it's working for you, that you don't do it. But in a lot of ways, journaling is like masturbation.
Right.
Right. So it's fun and it's good. It works, but it's not nearly as fun as being with somebody else.
Right. Right.
So am I being too?
No, that's good.
Okay. All right. So I'm just being myself right now. And if you knew how sweaty I was from the gym, right, I'm dying to take my sweatshirt off. That's going to happen next. That's going to, whatever. But anyway, so what I do in my groups, it's narrative therapy, is I have people actually, men, and these are all men in my groups, and they have been for years, police officers, firefighters, very successful young men, all this. Anyway, the power of the group is in sharing what you're writing. So narrative, they write, they journal, but then they share it out loud, and somebody else contains their story with them. So it is very important. You're so true, and Brene Brown is so true, obviously, that we have to be careful to select our resources, our external resources, because it's true. Our story is so deeply personal, And other people, aren't going to connect with it all the time when we want them to.
Right.
So it's protective,
So
but important to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's, I sat down, had a talked for a couple of friends of mine last night for about 3 hours, and it only took me about 3 or 4 months to actually sit down and make that appointment to sit down and talk to them. Because I use my own counsel, but I realized, of course, I realized a long time ago that it's just, just because I thought it doesn't necessarily mean it's true.
Right.
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 So it's
well, again, also, you and I both come from this place of believing that we're supposed to empower people to trust their thought process through a method of either, the way you produce the I Am project and the way I do my work. I don't want people to have to ask me.
Right.
I want to give them the tools that they can then think through themselves.
Right.
That's the whole goal, right?
Right. So, now you talk about, recognizing barriers and breakdowns, so within that recognition, I think what's interesting, recognizing your barriers and breakdowns interfere with your path forward, and being, I think most people recognize that they do silly things when it comes to their health, physical health or mental health. Recognizing it and doing something about it is not the same thing.
Oh, no. Barrier breakthroughs, which is the topic, you just mentioned. Barrier breakthroughs are about action.
Right.
Not just about knowing them.
Right.
Right. So I can know that I have a fear of something, but I need to come up with a strategy for facing that fear, or who cares that then the fear just consumes me if I just am aware of it.
Right.
Right.
So it's, we have personal development coming out of the wazoo. Personal development,
right.
It's out there like, like Weight Watchers and 24-hour fitness. The world's glutted. It's almost seems to be the same thing. So people often come up and say, I love this book. What a great author, and states great things. And, and so what did the first chapter say? I forget.
Right.
It's years ago we're at I was in this meeting, and the speaker said, how many people read Think and Grow Rich? And the whole audience puts up their hand. Everyone wants to, I read that book. And he's go, okay, there was 10 major things that were 10 major drivers to success. So what was number one? And nobody knew, yet everybody read the book. And number one was desire. Having a burning desire was the number one drive. Right. But it's the fact we read all this stuff, but we read it and we close the book.
So here's the thing, David, and this is what you're hitting. This is my favorite thing to talk about.
Okay.
That absorbing, like, I can tell you right now, I couldn't remember half of what I wrote in my own book. Yeah. Can you imagine? And but the things that I do remember, like, I could spit out, over and over and over again now, are the things that I have absolutely not only learned about, but rehearsed and rehearsed and rehearsed and rehearsed. Because the only way that we're going to, what we want to do, the ultimate goal, is to take anything, personal development that you read about is, just like you said, it's going to go in your eyes, out your ears, wherever it goes out. I don't know. Yeah. But if you find a nugget that makes sense to you, you find a strategy that, wow, I'm going to try that. Stick with just that one and rehearse it and rehearse it and rehearse it. So I give homework assignments to everybody, and they have to let me know daily what they're doing with the homework assignment. And I know for a fact that when they start, for example, they start their day, we're talking about core power, how to exercise your core power. So every day, the first thing I ever do with any client is have them develop their personal mission statement. Right. Personal mission statement is much like a corporate mission statement. It's that easy to remember couple of sentences that guide your actions to align with your intentions every single day. And it doesn't change. It stays the same for a long time. So if you think about it, a corporate mission statement, and I'm using this as an example, a corporate mission statement, no matter what's happening to somebody outside of their office space, maybe they got in a car accident on the way to work, maybe they got in a fight with their spouse, maybe their kids drove them crazy before they got there, maybe they had a killer workout and they don't even want to go to work and because they feel so great or whatever the case may be. The sun is shining and they don't want to be indoors. But the minute they walk in the door, no matter what their role is in the company and no matter what's happened outside of the company, they're aligned by that one mission statement.
Right.
And if they're conscious about it, the company's working super well.
Right.
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 And so, yeah, so the mission statement, no matter what's going on outside of yourself, aligns your actions with your intentions so that no matter what's going on outside of yourself, you're running super well.
Right. Well, and actually, and I love that part because that's a big conversation. I kind of joke around with people. I said, listen, be a Catholic, be a Jew, but decide on something specifically. Decide on a philosophy outside of your own human insanity so that when you're struggling, you can go to that. Right, you can go to that part. You can go to that psychology, right. Because it gives you a grounding point. And if you don't have that, right. It's it goes back to the old expression: if you don't stand for something, then you fall for anything. Right.
So so if I can just go back to the question about so how do you rehearse and make it take personal development and not make it just lofty, but make it practical. Right. So the personal mission statement, the homework example, for example, is that they before their feet hit the floor in the morning, they say their personal mission statement.
Right.
And they, it could be, someone's asking, what is an example of a mission statement? So an example of a mission statement might sound like one of the recent ones I heard was, today, always has to have the word today in it. That's the only rule. Today, I will use my strengths to, I can't remember exactly what he said. I just heard it yesterday. Today, I will use my, desire to help others and myself improve life to my best ability. I think it was something like that. And so it's broad enough to encompass, a lot of different things, but it focuses, that's what's so important to that person, that he does something to improve the life of his others and himself right. each day.
Right.
So long story short is that before they their feet hit the floor in the morning, before they pull back those covers, they think about their personal mission statement. They feel where it resonates most. Then hopefully they're brushing their teeth in the morning, maybe not, they're maybe taking a shower, but hopefully, let's just say yes. So either while you're getting ready for your day, you think about what's in front of you on your agenda, because we don't know those things that pop up that are not on our agenda, right? They always happen. But what we do know, we think about how our mission statement will help us through face those situations,
right.
Deal with those meetings, face those stressors, handle that relationship, whatever. Then, hopefully you remind yourself of it as you're in each situation. But then most importantly, at the end of the day, you reflect on how did it serve me, or could it have served me where it didn't.
Right. You
do that for, 2 weeks, it's going to start to become automatic.
Right.
My personal mission statement is this.
Right.
So
it's near associative conditioning, right? Just getting the they say the parts of your brain that fire together wire together, right?
Right. If you want to be fancy pants about it, go right ahead.
Yeah. So flexible discipline, right? So and I think that's I think it's an important adjunct to the word discipline is being flexible, because people think discipline
That's right.
is a rigid monk-like discipline where you're in the cold, it's -5, and you're in a robe freezing your ass off, but you're on point and you can't change, right? It's just that doesn't work. So it works if you're an extreme athlete and you have to do that kind of training and that. Flexible discipline, I was laughing a minute ago because flexible discipline was that I got on this call almost completely on time because I was disciplined to be more timely than interested in putting on makeup. I was being flexible and disciplined at the same time. I was like, okay, I'm not going to look good, but I'm going to be there, so I better sound good. So hopefully I sound all right. Yeah.
Anyway.
But I think if having that personal mission, if you didn't have the personal mission statement, you couldn't be flexible.
True, because you remember what's most important to you with the personal mission statement. And what happens with flexible discipline is that the rigidity of it, there's only so long it's going to stay, like, it's like that weighted stick on either end. It'll bow and then it'll break.
Right.
So flexible discipline is around, it's not necessarily about, it's about planful deviation, really. Right. So as much as possible, planful deviation from, so you're still in charge. People don't like to feel that they're not in charge. I like to feel in charge for sure. So flexible discipline is about planful deviation where, okay, I'm on my diet, I'm on my, training program, but you know what? My body's telling me that I need to rest today. So I'm going to pay attention to that. Right. And then I'm going to train better tomorrow, knowing that that's going to happen, instead of pushing yourself to train. I have to train on this day, every day from 9, and then winding up injured. Right. Or cortisol levels spike because your body is so stressed that you're not losing the weight that you wanted to lose. That's, going into our fitness realm from the mindset place. Right. So that's how it all ties together. Flexible discipline also might mean, a lot of people that I work with who are struggling with, weight loss issues as part of they don't come to me just for weight loss issues at all. But if it's part of it, then, here they have this big event over the weekend. They don't want to not socialize. And so we talk about flexible discipline as the planful deviation of saying, okay, so from 8 to 10, I'm just going to eat whatever is being served to me that night. And then I'm going to get back at 10 o'clock, ding, like the Cinderella story. I go back to my my nutrition plan. Right.
Yeah, and and I think that, it's a big conversation that we have with people, and there's all sorts of examples of, if you have a flat tire, you don't go out there and puncture the other 3 tires. Just it's and I think people again are so rigid to the idea that they feel that they deviate it the least little bit, it's absolute failure. And that flexibility, and while we were getting ready for competitions, we have there's some rigidity there, but we also make room to actually have a treat meal throughout the week where we can, it's good psychologically, it's good hormonally, like it's really good for the body in lots of different ways by actually having that deviation. That rigidity is tough, it's being that on point, and of course it's not sustainable, as you said. You just can't do that forever. Right.
And it goes back to the clarity concept too that we talked about very much in the beginning, where when people have this super clear vision, I'm going to do this, this is where I'm going to be in a year, and they lose sight of opportunities. So flexible discipline is also a way not just of deviating from your norm, but from expanding your view. It's great for expanding your view, because if you can stay disciplined to every day, I'm going to make steps toward my goal, whatever it is, professionally, physically, but you keep your eyes open for the wider vision, right? You don't get the tunnel vision. You keep a wider lens, so that, wow, you know what? I just met this person who's telling me about X, Y, and Z, which now makes even more sense for the niche I'm trying to create for myself professionally. Or I just learned this, or just tried this new dance class, and it's so much fun. I want to add that to my workout regimen instead of going, so flexible discipline allows you to actually reach your goals in a more fulfilling way, and maybe even a more dynamic and effective way.
Right. Well, actually, and I love that piece. I just keep thinking about, every time you hop on a plane and you're heading somewhere, there's no straight line. You have a destination, but you're going to go, you're being directed a little bit left, a little bit right, a little bit higher, a little bit lower.
Okay, so can we be a little bit careful with the flight analogy? Because I'm leaving this evening for Paris overseas, over that big body of water that we have to traverse to get there. So I'm kind of hoping they know exactly where they're going.
But it's never a straight line. It's actually being open to, always being open to like you said, the possibilities that there's maybe a better way to the way you can see. You'll still arrive at the destination, but not the way you perhaps thought.
Absolutely. For sure. For sure. I kind of like that. To me, that's the excitement. And I'm an entrepreneur, even though I'm a therapist and a mental fitness coach and nutrition psychology coach and a fitness person. I'm really an entrepreneur, which is why I am all those things, like you. And being an entrepreneur has its stressors for sure. You have to be able to ride that roller coaster of, you know, opportunities and accomplishments and bumps and all that stuff. But if I wasn't flexible in my vision, I would never be able to do what I do.
Right. Yeah, it's well, and we see that, of course, in business all the time. Business disappears because technology changes, and all of a sudden, what was thriving is now.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, Andrea Kennedy is actually commenting that she understands some flexibility in her day keeps her stress lower, and that's totally true.
Right.
And you know, again, one of the daily practices that I have people rehearse so they become natural is their mental exercises that I give them to reduce that stress.
Right.
And that really allows people to harness what I call their core power, what you know are dealing with the I Am project, you know, with really centering self.
Right.
You know, I wish we had more time to get into all that. We're at the half-hour mark.
I know. Well, listen. Let's just for 30 seconds, just go back and let's just recap on what we first started talking about the last time was the idea of nutritional psychology as an adjunct to all this. So we have mission statements. You know, we have a philosophical set point. So we're trying to align ourselves to define and align our philosophy so we know what we stand for when we're a little bit unsure how to get through the day. And so the nutritional psychology, what percentage of success does that lend to fulfillment of a plan?
So again, you know, if you're filling your toolbox with self-help books,
right,
you got to think about, you know, why are you investing so much in wanting to improve your life, but you're maybe not even looking at the rudimentary facts about the things you're putting into your body that affect your brain. Right. You want to pay attention. If you're really interested in enhancing your personal power, you got to come at it from all angles. So what we were talking about, the bulk of this half hour, is the mental fitness component. And now, you know, the nutritional psychology is the sincerely complementary, but also, and from where I sit, essential way to, you know, why would you only do one part of something? Why wouldn't you do like the whole shebang to help your brain? So nutritional psychology is about eating things and providing yourself with some nutrients that help reduce cortisol, you know, increase your serotonin production, the happy chemicals, all that, so that, you know, because we all face stress, right? And instead of looking at nutrition as, oh, I've got to eat this way so I lose weight or I gain muscle, we really need to start thinking about, how am I eating? How am I nourishing my brain so that I optimize its functioning and give myself more energy to then work my body? Because I wind up not giving away energy to stress.
Yeah, I love that. And you know, it's a big part of my conversation as well. That I said, you know, like it's a healthy organism that's well fed, well nourished, well slept, doesn't carry weight very easily, and generally and mentally functions better. So let's try to make each of these little cells happy by understanding what they need to function, and then the organism as a whole will function better, right? Rather than being caught up on a diet plan, which is not only restrictive as far as total calories, but restricts the nutrition going to your brain, for sure. So I think we froze out here. So I know so I know we're into 6:35, so we're 5 minutes over, and I know Ava, you have to go on with your day. So Ava, do me a favor, just you don't necessarily have to jump back in, but go through and just put your contact information there again, so from your personal website, and then the Revolution of Healing book that you guys have produced on Amazon. And but I appreciate this conversation. I really, you know, I like exploring it more because I know that so many people are challenged with so much information, so many possibilities, and we align so much on this. Yeah, I see that. we align so much in this conversation, which is why we've been speaking for months and months in around this. So being able to start the conversation, create some clarity for people, I think is really important, because it is daunting. You know, we look at the sheer vast amount of money being spent on personal development, and you know, or weight loss and all these things, and just how little the success is, how small percentage the success is for most people in these endeavors. You know, it may have moved the needle a little bit, but not necessarily for the amount of effort that people put into it. They're not seeing the results, and I think again there's some practicality that's missing. So all those steps are all those steps that we are talking about, of course, are pretty important. I think the more that people need to explore the foundational pieces of how this stuff works, rather than all strategy in the beginning. It's just, where are we starting from as far as building our strategy? You know, what's the point? Like, what's our philosophy? What's the premise? What are we trying to overcome? What are we trying to curate? And making sure we understand those pieces powerfully. So yeah, put your information in there. And Ava, thanks for your time. I always appreciate speaking with you. Have a very safe flight to Paris. Very jealous, and we'll try to do this up again in a week or so. All right, guys, have an incredible day. Take care. Bye.